Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Everybody's having a good day, hopefully. Rain here today, and geez, washed a lot of the snow away. Rivers and rivers everywhere. But geez, it's nice to walk down the walkway without worrying about slipping on the ice, because there ain't no ice. So that's good. I'm glad for that. I went down to Oriental Jade for lunch, and noticed on their menu, boy, the prices have gone up considerably over there. You know, can't say that the food is worth it though, but I went in there anyway, and I had shrimp lo mein and a couple of egg rolls, and with pork fried rice and 2 chicken wings, or no, not chicken wings, but chicken tenders, whatever, it's all breaded anyway, but and that was up, it came up to $31. I was like, Jesus, it's like, that's a lot. I mean, Christ, you used to be able to get a whole fucking platter for under that, but now, Christ. So I was like, I'm gonna make a habit of eating there very often. So, but anyway, that's what I had for lunch. So anyway, I got a couple of videos here. This first one that I have is from Ben Marsalis, and he's going to be talking about Charles Angus from Canada, who had a really poignant speech to give to Canadians, and also, to the United States and Trump specifically. And it's a pretty good speech. So let's go to that, and then we'll discuss that on the other side.
Good morning, Wache, bonjour. I'm Charlie Angus here on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation, Parliament Hill, Canada, to talk about where we stand with the latest threats from Donald Trump. Once again, he's huffing and puffing and threatening to blow our nation away. And like last time, as soon as Canada stands up and shows that we are not afraid, suddenly the MAGA crew start backpedaling, and maybe there's going to be a deal in the works. Maybe they're going to have something figured out. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not here to give anyone false hope, because Canadians understand that this is not a trade war we're talking about. This is a war by other means. A war of disinformation and ridicule, questioning our right to exist, our sovereignty, our borders, very much the way Vladimir Putin launched his disinformation war in the years leading up to the brutal invasion of Ukraine. It's a siege war. He's poking us and trying to see if there's divisions, if there's fear. What he's learning very quickly, and what the world is learning, is that Canadians know what is at stake, and we will not bend or break. Because Donald Trump believes we have no right as a nation, and we will always be there for our nation. But I want to compare what's happening in Canada to the dumpster fire USA. Because what we've seen in just 60 days is that Donald Trump has burned up the great American century. He's burned through his alliances with key allies. He's burned through Americans' leadership role on the international stage with his disgusting attack on President Zelensky and his willingness to put America on side with North Korea and Russia. So this is how the great American century ends. It's not with a bang or with a whimper. It's like some kind of tacky roadshow from the World Wrestling Federation. And now Donald Trump has decided to go further by blowing apart the greatest economic trade relationship in history, plunging our nation and our people into chaos. But what he's really doing is making America weaker, more divided, more alone. And we know that Canada will stand up and Canada will push back, and American jobs will suffer, and the American economy is suffering. So now the world looks to Canada and wonders, well, just who are these Canadians? Do they have what it takes to stand up to the proud boy? Learning very quickly that yes, we're a nation that we like to squabble and we like to disagree with one another. But when you come at us, we come back hard. Call it our Juno Beach gene. Canadians understand what's ahead. They know that this is going to be hard. They know that people will suffer and that there will families who will be hurt. There's no getting around that. But they also know that Canadians will stand together, just as we've always stood. I want to give a shout out this morning, and it's why I'm here, to the amazing leaders who are on the front lines defending Canada. The countless Canadians who've been reaching out to me about canceling vacations to Arizona, canceling honeymoons in South Carolina, canceling business trips and conventions in Vermont and Florida. People who've taken a personal cost. Now, that might not seem like a big deal, but these are the decisions being made at kitchen tables across our nation to stand with Canada or to give in. I want to give a shout out to the mums and the grandmoms who call me from all across this nation, who tell me they take that extra time in the grocery store to make sure that nothing from the United States ends up in their grocery baskets. A big shout out to the Canadian artists who are boycotting South by Southwest in Texas this year, the biggest music festival for Canadian artists, a decision that will cost their careers, but they would rather stand up for Canada than be divided. And I want to give a special shout out to the new Canadian voices that I heard on CBC yesterday, the people, first generation Canadians in Scarborough, who are on the lowest part of the economic rung, who they know when economic hard times come, they're going to take the first hit. And they talked about how proud they were, how they felt more unified as being Canadian than ever before. And that's the issue that I'm here to point out. Because in America right now, Donald Trump and the MAGA crew want to have a nation run by white men for white men. And they think that makes them tough. And they look on us and think we're weak because we're decent and we're democratic and we're inclusive. But that is our strength, because we're not afraid about what pronouns someone uses. We're not angry by who someone marries. We come together across racial lines. We celebrate our linguistic diversity. We celebrate our regional diversity. We celebrate the fact that we are a settler population on the indigenous territories of this nation. And yeah, we get a lot wrong. And yeah, we're a work in progress. But when push comes to shove, we are indivisible. We stand together. We are one. It's that diversity that makes us strong. So I want to thank everybody who's been pulling their load, and to say to them, whether or not this tariff war ends tomorrow or whether Donald comes up with some bogus reason that he's scored a victory, you know what's at stake. This is just the beginning. The next 4 years will determine our future as a nation. And I know the Canadians will be strong. Because as Winston Churchill said, we will mete out for you everything that you try to throw at us, and we will go one step further. Donald, you do your worst because Canadians will do their best. We are true, north, strong, free, and it's elbows up time. Ladies and gentlemen, Canada will never bend. We will never kiss the gangster's ring.
I told you were going to want to watch that full press conference right there. So what happened in the past 24 hours? Well, Donald Trump was summoned by the big three auto manufacturers in Detroit. The CEO of General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis gave him a call and said, "What the hell are you doing? Do you realize, first and foremost, that you were the one who negotiated the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement? So now you're breaching your own agreement, idiot. And you're about to cause numerous auto manufacturing plants to shut down, moron. And Canada's standing strong. I don't know what the hell you're doing, Trump." So what Donald Trump then did is he paused because he has no clue what he's doing. So the same way, you know, how with like Donald Trump's cases, when he files the lawsuits, he always tries to delay. So he now moved back the tariffs just as it relates to auto to April 2nd. All the other tariffs are still in place. The auto trade between US, Canada, and Mexico, I don't know, that makes up about like 15 to 20% of the trade. It's so a lot of the other tariffs are still there. And it's still going to have a crippling effect, but Canada is standing strong. I want you to watch this moment where Caitlin Collins of CNN, asked United States propagandist from the White House, the Trump regime, Caroline Leavitt. So what is behind your calculus of giving a 1 month reprieve until like April 2nd on the tariffs as it relates to auto manufacturing? Here, play this clip.
One, on the reprieve that is being granted to these three automakers for 1 month on the tariffs on Canada and Mexico. How did the president settle on 1 month?
The reciprocal tariffs will go into effect on April 2nd, and he feels strongly about that no matter what, no exemption. So that's where the 1 month comes from.
Does he expect them to be able to shift production within a month?
He told them that they should get on it, start investing, start moving, shift production here to the United States of America, where they will pay no tariff. That's the ultimate goal.
I mean, truthfully, she has no clue what she is doing there. Here is Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary from the Trump regime, already walking back the tariffs, going on Fox to do it. But then he's like, well, we haven't decided yet, but we're doing it. Just watch how flustered this moron looks. Let's play it.
And listening, he spoke today to Justin Trudeau this morning, and I was on that call. And so I think he's leaning towards coming up with an idea that allows USMCA, the deal he struck with Mexico and Canada. That's about half of Mexico and Canada. It's about half. Maybe those markets for the next month get excluded from the tariff and the other half. So basically, if you were doing trading with the United States of America and you ignored Donald Trump's agreement that he made years ago, you did it at your own risk. And so the president's thinking, now he hasn't decided this yet, so it's up to him. But he spoke to the big automakers yesterday, so he was leaning towards helping them out for just this month. And then we need to see the Canadians and Mexicans put long-lasting protections in to protect America. Not this, I'm doing a lot of work for the last 3 weeks. Give me a break.
Okay, so...
But then, of course, Caroline Leavitt has to once again insult Canada, demean our ally in Canada, disrespect Canada. And Canada sees what's happening. And here Caroline Leavitt with that smirk on her face is like, we feel strongly that we want to make it our 51st state. Ha ha ha. We want to conquer it. Ha ha ha. Aren't I so funny? I mean, it's so ridiculous. Grow up. Play this.
The president continues to call the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, Governor of Canada. I'm curious what he means by that, and if there are any plans that are moving forward with trying to make Canada the 51st state. And I have a follow-up on the economy as well.
Sure. Well, the president put that in his True Social account, or his True Social post earlier today. He feels strongly that it would be very beneficial for the Canadian people to be the 51st state of the United States. They wouldn't be paying for these tariffs. They'd have much lower taxes if they were part of our great country.
Let me show you this right here. This is in, this is the premier of Manitoba, saying, I am signing a big, beautiful order today, pulling all of the American booze from our supermarkets. And that followed what went down in Ontario with their Premier Doug Ford. Here, watch this moment. Let's play it.
Okay, this order, it's a wonderful order. It's a beautiful order. This order is pulling American booze off the Liquor Mart shelves.
And then finally, here is one of Trump's trade advisors, Peter Navarro, fresh out of jail. You get the trend here. And here Peter Navarro is big mad at Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, calling Donald Trump Donald. Donald. Play this clip.
And the president will not tolerate that anymore. So I watched the conference yesterday with Mr. Trudeau, and he's calling the president dumb. He's calling him Donald instead of respectfully the president. And we're all talking trade war. It's not about that.
What was the president's reaction to him saying that?
I wasn't there when he was doing that.
Do you know
but
what his reaction
I
was?
do not, and I don't involve myself in that.
So utterly weak. And the comparison between Canadian Member of Parliament Charlie Angus and the weakness of Donald Trump, it couldn't be more clear. Tell me what you think. Hit subscribe, and let's get to 5 million subscribers.
Oh, so, pretty good speech. You know, I can't blame the Canadians for doing what they're doing, okay? I saw a video, they were showing stores taking all the American alcohol, whatever they, beers, whatever, taking all that off the shelves and putting it in this cart. And I'm thinking, well, somebody's going to drink it. What, is it going to go into a black market or something? I can't imagine that people are just going to take and dump that shit, somehow. I don't know what they do with it. If they send it back, I don't know, because it's not like they were taking it out and putting it in trash bags. No, they were putting it into carts, stacking it neatly into carts. So maybe these are going to be things they're going to send back somehow. I don't know how that works, but yeah, they were cleaning house in some places there of all the American alcohol. So what does that mean? Is it going to mean that the price of beer and all that's going to go up because they're not selling as much because they're not, other countries aren't buying it? Or is it going to go down in price because, they're manufacturing a ton of it and they're not going to be able to get rid of as much? So they'll probably lower the price for this for a time until demand increases, because right now they'd be oversupplied. I mean, if people are sending the stuff back to the factories or wherever it's coming from, if that's the case, then they're going to have a surplus of beer and stuff like that. So naturally, they'd want to lower the price, maybe, just to get rid of the excess stuff, that much quicker. But if they're not going to send it back and it's just going to end up, being given away or something, then it could be a black market where people will just pick it up and then sell it, on the streets to anyone who wants it in Canada. So I don't know. It's not my concern. I don't drink alcohol. I can't anyway because I'm on medicine. So I don't give a shit what they do with the alcohol. I'm just curious as to how they clear out a store with rows of fucking American alcohol. Where does it go? Where do they send it? That's kind of like where I'm trying to figure out how you do stuff like that. I mean, I would think that they would just, I realize people ain't gonna buy it, so there's no point in trying to sell it, but somebody's got to get it unless they're gonna dump it, and that would be kind of unfortunate and wasteful, So, I mean, maybe they'll just ship it back to the States, but like I said, that'll mean a surplus of alcohol, So anyway, you got, as Ben pointed out, you got the three big auto industry giants are pissed off at Trump because he's going back on a thing that he had passed, and basically upsetting that. This is one of the reasons why I say, the United States can't be consistent with anything. I mean, You know, I realize Trump started this, but at the same time, how can business in this country depend on things maintaining the status quo when you have a guy like Trump in there, you know, changing the fucking dials all the time, okay? As a businessman, I'd be really pissed and say, look, for Christ's sake, you know, we were just getting things going, and now he shows up in there and he undoes the whole works. You know, it's like, how can you make money in this country, you know, when you got the president tampering with the economic status of the nation? And so he pauses tariffs on the auto industry till April 2nd. Like, woo, you know. You know what it is. I mean, this is the first step, I think, in a series of steps that's going to happen down the line as more and more impact comes to his doorstep there at the Oval Office by people saying, you got to lift the tariffs, okay? You're upsetting everything. It's going to wreck the whole goddamn economy. I mean, I'm surprised he doesn't have a line of people at the White House right now from Wall Street and corporate America knocking on his door saying, Trump, will you stop with this goddamn tariff bullshit? You know, you're killing us here, okay? If he's for the rich, then why is he doing this to them? Okay, because the rich in this country are typically business owners, right? I mean, so tax breaks, you know, at the end, I mean, right now he's hurting them, okay? If they're not making any money and he gives them tax breaks, what good is that? You know what I'm saying? Because they're losing money. So he's going to give them tax breaks, but they'll still be breaking even, you know, basically. So he's not helping them any. So the people that supported him to get in office, you'd think they'd be the loudest voices, you know, and not so much the American public outside with their signs and protests. It would be the people, the donor class, you know, the welfare queens, you know, like Elon Musk. I mean, is Elon Musk going to be the only businessman left standing in this country? I mean, if Trump continues with what he's doing, he's going to knock down the whole industries of things in this country. I mean, because they can't be too happy. If they were, the stock market wouldn't be going down, down, down all the fucking time, right? So it's really a bad sign of things, of a trend that's happening here in this country. And, you know, even the Canadians see it. They say, you know, he's going to destroy your economy. And we're not going to be tied to that. You're not dragging us down with you. You know, no country does. Everybody's going to be cutting their ties to the United States because they know the United States economy is on the downward spiral. They're not going to have their economies attached to that. Not while they're still trying to recover from inflation and all that. No. They're not going to do that. They're going to do business with each other out, you know, overseas, but they're not going to be here with the United States because our dollar is going to be worth shit anyway. So there won't be any value doing business here. And Trump will have created that. I mean, in a way, he would be kind of hurting his own goddamn business, his wealth too. But like I said, he's an old man. He ain't got many years ahead of him. If that, you know, he's got fewer days ahead than behind. He could die tonight, for all we know. Okay, because of his health right now. Mentally, he's falling apart. Physically, he's even worse. Okay, so why would he care? It's like, well, if I can't have it, nobody's gonna have it after I'm dead. So, you know, basically destroy everything. Scorched earth policy. Wreck it all so nobody has anything. And we're sitting here watching this happen. And I feel like, you know, America, we don't have to let that happen. Okay? We don't have to let Trump get away with that. Okay? I don't care how old he is and how many days he's got left in his life. We don't have to sit here and watch that man torch our country just because he can. All right? But just because we can does not justify half the shit he does, okay? I'm sorry. But we live in a country that's got laws. And if he's going to continue to step on the laws or break them or whatever, all right, and we don't do anything about it, then we are just as guilty as he is for what he's doing. We are. So I would suggest that people stop trying to contact the offices of the representatives of our country, okay? You know, whoever it is that's, you know, in your state. Don't bother. We live in a day and age where people can take or ignore calls. I just ignored one on my own phone and went right to voicemail. I ain't gonna read that, okay? That's what they're doing. Okay, they know they're gonna get hate mail, so they're not gonna read it. So why waste your time calling them or emailing them or sending all that stuff? It's all gonna go straight to the trash can, all right? What they won't ignore and what they can't ignore is seeing people upsetting the fucking operation of things, okay? Standing out in the fucking way of traffic, what do you call it? You know, disrupting businesses, you know, getting in the way of CEOs, you know, basically becoming a general nuisance for the country. Because, hey, if Trump's going to destroy it, then why can't we, right? You know, if Trump is going to go out in the White House and spend his second term as an annihilator, then why should we get punished if we go out into the streets and, you know, disrupt business, okay? And, you know, become a general nuisance to them. You know, hell, we can't, you know, a lot of us are going to be out of a job anyway, so what better way to do stuff with your time than to just get out there in mass, all right, and just swarm the fucking most busiest areas of the country, you know, just beat the fucking drums, go, you know, or hell, just, you know, camp out at fucking Washington, D.C., just swarm the fucking place with people. You know, summer's coming, we'll have plenty of warm weather there to do that. Okay? I think that's what we got to do. We have to be underfoot. We have to be under their foot all the time. All right? They certainly can't, you know, what it will do is it'll create more tension, more anger. Okay? It'll create martyrs to intensify the movement. And at the end of the day, there'll be such a fucking rampage of hate in this country against Trump that, you know, hey, he's gonna, you know, he's either gonna have to live in a bunker or something, or, you know, or resign, whichever. But we cannot just sit here and be quiet like the Democrats were at the State of the Union speech the other night, okay? Sitting there with their little paddles, you know, hoping that the camera will zoom in on them or something, okay? I mean, that was pathetic, all right? If that's the best the Democrats can do, then it's up to us to take it to the nth degree, because they're not going to do it. We have to do it. So I think, like, you know, this is really a time not for politicians to fight it out in Washington anymore, okay? They've had their time and they failed. Now it's our time. Okay, it's our time to be, to create chaos, as it were, all right, to stop things, you know, people to go on strike, not to show up for work, okay, force businesses to take notice, so they put pressures on Trump, because that is the only people Trump will listen to, all right, those who own the fucking businesses, and when they're not happy, they're not going to make Trump happy. And when Trump isn't happy, okay, that's when he does his worst. And I don't mean as far as doing a job. I mean, his worst that he does, okay, which means he'll be making people angrier by the way he'll handle that. So we have to box him in a corner, essentially. You know, I mean, that's kind of what happened with Richard Nixon, right? People were out there protesting by the thousands all across the country. You know, he couldn't get away from it. Everywhere he went, there was people ready, okay? People right there, shouting, screaming, everything, okay? That's what they did. Drove him nuts. They'd see his car, they'd throw eggs at it, you know? Christ, they did that when, what was it, George W. Bush there, when he went to go, was it Inauguration Day? He was supposed to put his hand on the book there, and people were throwing eggs at the fucking car as it was going up to, you know. I don't know how many people remember that, but I remember watching that on the TV, and people weren't happy with him. So, you know, we need to have a little bit more of that going on, you know, and stuff. Yeah, the price of eggs is high, yeah. So we'll have to find something else to throw. You know, maybe things will be cheaper, like, you know, with grapes or something like that, or some other fruit, or maybe potatoes or something. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, you gotta ratchet up the heat, okay? And when it's summer and it's hot, I mean, I guarantee you, people are gonna ratchet up the heat real easy. And the minute the police show up and they start escalating things, as they will when they do what they do, okay, then guess what? You know, you easily create a riot right then and there, okay? And, you know, the cops don't like that. They don't like to have to spend all their resources trying to calm down an entire population, okay? That's not what they're really trained for. They gotta, they do tickets, you know, and stuff like that. But when you're looking at, you know, 900 to over 1,000 people in front of you, and you got, you know, maybe 20 cops with shields, shit. You know, it's like, what was that movie there, the 300? Okay. You know, you have to remember that, you know, when you swarm an area with people, you know, all they can do is huddle into a fucking circle and just defend themselves. They can't be offensive. They can't do anything, you know. But, yeah, you know, in other words, I'm just saying, people, we need to be the voice the Democrats can't be at this point. Until they find their voice, it's going to be up to us to do the job for them. We elected them there. They're not doing the job. And so now it's time for us to get up off our asses and go out there and start pounding the pavement. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
My humble request for the coming year is that we make time to listen to the quiet. My dear friend E.O. Wilson, rest his soul, would say that the quiet voices are the most important. The krill and the caterpillars, the beetles and the bacteria, the ants. The systems that sustain life on Earth, that put birds in our skies, water in our rivers, oxygen in our atmosphere, are mind-bogglingly ancient, densely interlocking, and only partially understood tapestries composed of millions of species, all exchanging matter and energy in a glorious whirling ballet which is so beautiful. It can put you on your knees when you start to fit your mind around it. But ecosystems aren't just quiet symphonies to admire. Ecosystems allow us our impossibly rich, dazzlingly beautiful lives. Yet we yank threads out of these magnificent tapestries every day. We unravel our own support systems. Every day they grow quieter, while everything else grows louder. Our lives are but a finger snap in the 3.5 billion year history of life on our planet. Any individual life, mine or yours, is nothing but a wisp of thread in the miles-long rope of life. The most meaningful thing we can do in our time on Earth is to ensure that the rope isn't too frayed for the next generation. Which young person do you love most in the world? Can you picture them? By the time they're your age, don't you want them to be able to wander into a field some evening and hear the smallest things, the ants and the caterpillars, the seeds germinating in the soil? Don't you want them to grow up with the last few mysteries, opening quietly in the darkness? That's what the living earth has to offer us. A whole poetry of mysteries, of possible discoveries, an infinitude of adventures, and ultimately insights that are the cornerstone for a new way of understanding the beautiful intricacy of our planet and how we can best steward its enduring stability. This hopeful curiosity is the core of E.O. Wilson's books, embodied in the work of the E.O. Wilson Biodiversity Foundation, and ultimately brought to life through a deep belief in you and our shared human resolve to save the natural world. Please join me in listening to the voices of biodiversity and taking action to reimagine how we care for our planet.
Feeling my husband with 8 inches was like reliving our first time. Thanks to the salt trick, he makes me gush like a broken pipe. And just last month, I was ready to divorce my husband. But then he showed me his new 8-inch magic wand. Now, I can barely hold it in my hand. This salt trick is hands down the biggest advantage any man can have heading into 2025. I wasn't kidding when I said you should take it easy with this trick. It can turn a sad little twig into a raging anaconda. It's ridiculously simple. And it's heartbreaking to see so many men missing out on the chance to finally make their women happy. So far, this easy homemade trick has helped over 29,000 men naturally increase both size and thickness. This is the same secret top-paid adult film actors use to keep their bats way above average. It's also how they manage to handle 3, 4, or even 5 women in a row without losing their stamina. The best part? It works for men of all ages, takes just 30 seconds before bed, and can give you some incredible results in no time. If you want to skip the details and go straight to the video, just click the Watch Now button below to learn how to pull off this simple but powerful trick tonight. You should probably watch it alone, if you know what I mean. Don't waste any more time. Watch it before it gets taken down or you can't find this video anymore. Your wife or girlfriend will thank you for the rest of her life.
part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
So, this other video is from Dollemore Daily, and he's going to be talking about the State of the Union address and some of the bullshit that surrounded that. So, let's go to that video and we'll discuss that on the other side.
Trump's speech predictably veered into weird Nazi territory last night. It's not hyperbole to say so. I got three very brief clips for you that I want to share with you that kind of point to this. One is his constant beating the drum, the refrain about woke is dead, woke is ended, all this nonsense, which really only speaks to his desire to erase the contributions of, or maybe even the existence of, but certainly the contributions of black people, of women, of the LGBTQ community, trans people. They don't want to even just acknowledge that trans people are a thing. They exist. Indigenous people, immigrants. I mean, they want to throw millions of these people, rip families apart, and put them into internment camps. They want to ship them off U.S. soil to Guantanamo like they're terrorists. That's the first moment. Second moment is Donald Trump invoking God, that he was saved by God to do such great things. And then the third is him talking about wanting us to be the most dominant civil. It's very Nazi-esque, very Fourth Reich bullshit talk that he gives. First, though, it's one of the several moments where he rambled about woke, much to the glee of Republican bigots everywhere. Watch this.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer.
The tyranny of diversity. The tyranny of inclusion. You give people just a glimpse, traditionally oppressed communities, you give them just a glimmer of equality, and rich, white, straight freaks like Donald Trump lose their minds. They call it tyranny. Inclusion and diversity. Equity. That's tyranny to them. If diversity is tyranny, there's no such thing as tyranny. Actual tyranny does not exist. This from a party that constantly bangs on about 1776 and the revolution and where we fought against actual tyranny. An actual lack of freedom, of choices, of the ability to self-govern. That's tyranny. Not ensuring that full members of our society and our culture and our country as citizens are self-actualized and able to attain and achieve the greatest that everyone else can. Their best lives, flourishing. That's tyranny to Donald Trump. Here, again, it's in the playbook. You invoke God. It's a stranglehold on the cult. These evangelical psychopaths And he is telling them he believes he was saved by God. Where's the bat phone? Saved by God so he could make America great again. Drag us back to the days when the KKK actually had some political power in this country. That's what Donald Trump wants. And in this moment, he disrespects the family of one of the people who was there when someone took a shot at him. Because if he was saved by God, the wife of the dude, Corey, whatever his name is, they're there in the audience. Pontapriori or whatever. I don't know his name. Just another MAGA. That if Donald Trump was saved by God, that would mean that the Corey guy was not saved by God. That God chose Donald Trump to survive and chose Corey Contemporary or whatever his name is to die. Corey, not important. Donald Trump, very important to God. Watch this gross, disrespectful moment.
I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that.
Why isn't the natural logical extension of that is that if I believe my life was saved, it does mean that guy who died from an errant bullet, that his life was not saved. It wasn't just like, well, that was an accident. This was intentional that I was saved. If God had a role in one, God had a role in both. So your God, Donald Trump, you believe allowed the killing, caused the killing of one of your supporters, but saved you because you're special, you're great, you're wonderful. You're important enough for God to notice. This is what people believe. It's the same kind of thing where people like thank God for, oh, I found my keys. Oh, I'm thankful to Jesus. He helped me find my keys, while children starve or die of eye cancer across the planet. This is why Republican Christianity is a fucking joke, and it's gross, and it's sacrilegious. And then the piece de resistance, the chef's kiss of fascism, is Donald Trump promising he's going to bring in the Fourth Reich. He's going to bring in us being a dominant civilization, the most dominant civilization ever on Earth. And when you couple this with all of the vermin talk and the poison in the blood of the country and all of the Nazi rhyming rhetoric that Donald Trump gives us, it all paints a picture. And I can tell you, I'll say it again, I'm done giving these fuckers the benefit of the doubt. I'm done acting as though the Nazi salutes aren't the Nazi salutes. It is what it is. We've witnessed what we've witnessed. We're too deep in this now to act as though it's all just coincidence that now he's talking about making us the most dominant civilization on the earth, just short of saying Fourth Reich. Watch this and tell me what you think.
Even higher. And we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth.
As the two white supremacist Christians behind him nod along smugly. Look, I don't know what we're going to do here. In the absence of actual, palpable, recognizable Democratic leadership, it's going to be up to us. We got Hakeem Jeffries, who can't say an ill word about either Eric Adams or Andrew Cuomo. I guess they're too good of friends or something. We don't have leadership. We've got a Democratic Party that votes for a septuagenarian cancer patient in Jerry Connolly to be the oversight chairman and passes over AOC, the next generation of actual leadership in this party. A brilliant woman with a heart for leadership, servant leadership. We're not making enough noise, you and me. Maybe not for me. I make a lot of noise. But together, collectively, we're not making enough noise. We're not calling enough the Capitol Switchboard, 202-224-3121. We're not. We need to let them know. You do our bidding or you're gone. We will primary you. You will be out of a job. You will be no longer in the equation for people like me to criticize that you're not doing enough, because you'll just be one of us. With the phone number 202-224-3121. You'll just be another person with a phone call to a Capitol switchboard. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. I wish it was more positive, but it is not. We are where we are. We need to deal with reality on reality's terms. Comment below, or you can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me as always, daily@dollemore.com. I do want to hear.
You know, I saw the headline that online here from World News, and it says Trump plans to revoke legal status of Ukrainians who fled to the United States. So he ain't done fucking with Ukraine. Now he's going after the people in this country who fled here from the war, okay? Mostly women and children, by the way, because a lot of the men stayed behind to fight. Because that's the, as I understand it, that was how Zelensky started, asking men of all ages, okay, to remain behind and, become a force to fight the Russians. Conscripts, I guess. And if you recall, there were some Americans that went over there to help. Some, I guess they were veterans. But before, things got too hot, and, there was some friends that I had living over there that I would talk to online, because they were young and stuff, too young to fight, but they all got pushed into, like, was it Georgia over there, and where else? Some went to Germany too for a while. They were staying in hotels in Germany, and then the Germans got pissed and said, "Oh, they need to go somewhere else." Well, but anyway, they all got pushed down into different countries while the men stayed behind and fought. Some of them made it to the United States, although it wasn't easy for a lot of them to get here. As I understand it, there was, quite a waiting list of people trying to take the opportunity to come to the United States and start anew here, because I don't think a lot of people expected that they would have a home left once that war started, and probably many of them don't, so they've got nothing to go back to. So they came to the United States, and a lot of them were happy they got here, but now Trump is going to turn them away, and then of course if he revokes their legal status, they'll get a knock on the door from ICE, right? So I just think that really is a betrayal of the worst kind. And these people, they come here, they feel safe, they try to start their life, try to create something here, to begin again. And then this jackass comes in there and he kicks the legs out from under him. All because he has an agenda and he's taking it out on anybody that's Ukrainian, because Zelensky won't cooperate with him. And now he's doing this. He ain't saying he's done it, they're saying he's planning on doing it. And if he's planning on doing it, believe me, he's gonna do it. Bastard. So I thought that was pretty low. And he's still going after Title IX here in Maine. He hasn't stopped with that bullshit yet. And then, was it Peter Navarro? He's going around telling people that he thinks Canada has been taken over by the Mexican cartels. This is a Trump advisor, okay? So naturally you're going to get some really crazy shit from anyone associated with Trump. All right? I feel like, this is crazy shit, and why should we expect sanity from anybody that's sitting there talking to Trump? And you got there was 5,000 USDA workers that were fired by Trump. Trump's ordering them back to work for now. Okay, I guess he found out that that wasn't such a good idea, you know, to lay off so many, or not lay off, but get rid of so many people in the Department of Agriculture. I mean, what the fuck? You know, I think, you know, it's probably because a lot of the farmers that voted for him for a second time, after they got their asses handed to them the first time, they still voted for him a second time, raising all merry hell with Trump. And, you know, now Trump is starting to, I don't know, feeling the anger, and he's trying to undo some of the shit that he did, you know. And the Senate Democrats blocked a GOP bill to ban transgender athletes from women's sports. All right, so they did that. And then Washington bans Great Britain from sharing any U.S. military intelligence with Ukraine. Why? Why is Trump trying to hide his cards here from Ukraine? Is it because something nefarious is up and he doesn't want Britain, who used to be our allies, you know, finding out what we're doing? Because we used to trade our data, you know, our intelligence back and forth. That started all the way back in the Cold War. That's been a tradition here, or rule of law, because we worked hand in hand. But now he's trying to cut ties with Britain, and he doesn't want Britain knowing everything that he's up to, because he knows it'll get leaked over to the Ukraine. So, so obviously that's a bad sign. If he's telling Britain, I ain't gonna tell or share a goddamn thing with you, then he's up to something. You can bank on that. He's up to something, and no one's gonna like it, whatever the hell it is. Okay? Now, about the topic of the State of the Union address, if you recall, Representative Al Green, he was asked to leave, right? Okay, the funny thing of it is that nobody could really understand what he was saying when he was standing up talking, right? Okay, because they didn't have microphones down there to pick up what he was saying, but the people there could hear him. But for some reason, you know, the cameras and stuff that were there, they couldn't pick him up. So he was asked to leave. And they took a vote to censure him for, you know, creating a disturbance, I guess you want to call it. And guess what? There's 10 Democrats who voted with the Republicans to censuring their colleague for breaking their decorum standards there while the president was speaking. Oh, like, you know, hey, it was okay for Marjorie Taylor Greene and Sarah Palin to do that when Joe Biden was talking, but oh, they didn't censure them. Okay, but we're going to do that to Al Green. Okay, here's the names of the motherfucking Democrats that voted for that. Bera from California, Case from Hawaii, Costa from California, Gillen from New York, Glausenkamp Perez from Washington, Himes from Connecticut, Houlihan from Pennsylvania, Capter from Ohio, Moskowitz from Florida, and Soisy from New York. In case you're interested in knowing who they were, okay, those were the 10 Democrats who felt they should side with the Republicans, the MAGA people, to punish Al Green. Okay, turncoats, backstabbers, dinos, whatever you want to call them. That's what they are. You know, and the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, you know, he should have rallied everyone around Al Green, but all he could do was not condemn him. You know, Senator Schumer, you know, he picked Elissa Slotkin, one of the most conservative Democrats, that they have to give the Democratic response after the speech, right? After the State of the Union address. You know, it was crazy. I mean, it was, like I said, people are not getting encouraged by the Democrats' way of opposing Trump. They want to see more strong stands, okay? They want to see more of that, and they're not getting it. You know, the opposition is too damn weak, and people are feeling fed up, hopeless, and, you know, it's like, you know, why the fuck should we even get out and vote for them? Okay, if they're just, if the lack of initiative that they have to oppose Trump is actually being seen as them helping Trump. Okay, that's what they're thinking. And let me see here, what else we got. Hold on a second. I want to read this article here from Bangor Daily News. Okay. It says that the federal government has found that the Maine Department of Education violated federal civil rights laws for allowing transgender girls to compete on girls' sports teams only 4 days after opening an investigation. Federal investigators interviewed no state officials before reaching that finding, according to the Maine Attorney General's office. It appears that the U.S. DHHS Office for Civil Rights did not interview or send questions to Maine prior to issuing its finding that the Education Department violated Title IX. Quote, "We have not been asked any questions nor involved in any investigatory activities prior to the receipt of the determination letter," unquote, wrote Dana Hayes, a spokesperson with the Office of the Maine Attorney General, in response to a request for written communications between the federal government and the Maine Department of Education. The determination later issued by the U.S. DHHS does not state what, if any, action will be taken, but it points out that the Maine Department of Education received $703,806 from 3 different U.S. DHHS sources in 2024. Hayes said the sum is incorrect. The Education Department received $186,955. The notice from the federal government included 7 findings of fact before outlining the rationale for its determination. It cited comments from the executive director of the Maine Principals Association, which runs school athletic competitions, stating that Trump's executive order barring transgender girls from competing in girls' sports is in conflict with the Maine Human Rights Act. The association has said it will continue to allow transgender athletes to compete on the teams aligned with their gender identity in accordance with state law. The letter from the U.S. DHHS then pointed to 2 examples of transgender girls in Maine competing against other girls and linked the 2 press reports about students from Greeley High School and the Maine Coast Waldorf School in Freeport. One of the articles it used as evidence in its investigation was published in a conservative online news outlet that described itself as, quote, exposing the destructive nature of woke activism, unquote, and as a, quote, antidote to the mainstream sports media that often serves an elite left-leaning minority instead of the American sports fan, unquote. So the Office for Civil Rights, you know, they had time to commit a full investigation in just 4 days, okay, without interviewing anybody from Maine using newspaper articles, including the right-wing rage crap, okay, but it doesn't have time to investigate any of the backlog complaints that the department is, you know, supposed to handle. You know, I guess, like the federal government, you know, things are currently in flux. You know, I think anyone would say that that's going on right now. Everything is changing. What was once, you know, considered the fact of life is now being undone. Okay. You know, with employees being ordered not to investigate, you know, thousands of complaints, you know, concerning race and sex-based discrimination. Okay. Almost all of the investigations were historically initiated due to complaints filed by agencies or, you know, just people turning to the Civil Rights Agency for help. But, you know, since Trump took office, those have taken a back seat, and the office has pursued proactive, you know, specific investigations, okay, you know, ordered by the administration. And, you know, what they're doing here in Maine, this Maine probe, is just another one of those directed investigations here. So Mills was right in the end. I mean, this is going to end up in court. Okay, there's no doubt about it. Whether she is going to, you know, pushing buttons to make it happen or not, you know, it has to go to court. And because, you know, Trump doesn't care about protecting women, and he doesn't care about, you know, people's sexual orientation or something. In his mind, he's old school thinking. You know, he can't understand why you know, there's trans anything, you know, going on with that. He can't understand that. He's just, you know, he's inflexible. He's an old dog. You can't teach him new tricks or anything like that. He doesn't understand, you know, and that comes from years of shitting on people, treating them like numbers, screwing them over. If he doesn't care about people, he's not going to care about the nuances of humanity. You know, he's not going to care. It's, you know, he views the world one way, and that is it. Nothing can change that, you know. And you know, and arguably the way he views the world has caused him to get into a lot of legal trouble, okay, considering, you know, that he's been photographed with Jeffrey Epstein, you know, almost 70 fucking times in the 20 years that he knew the guy. Okay, but, you know, his view of the world is pretty dark, and it's just, it does not match up with the times, okay? It's in conflict with it. The public is not like that now. He's fighting to bring back a culture of the old, and it can't go that way. And the fact that, you know, he's sitting here bullying this state and our governor, and he's got the federal government, you know, going all through the books here. They're trying to find, what can I say? They're trying to find good footing to take on this issue, because they know it's going to be an uphill fight over this Title IX mess here that Trump here is talking about, and the fact that he's trying to hold the state hostage by withholding federal funding for things here, which is illegal in itself. Okay, there's a lot there the courts are going to have to hear in this mess, and I feel like, you know, yeah, Governor Mills, yeah, she used to be a you know, DA or whatever for the state, but you know, she's gonna have her hands full, because Trump's gonna throw everything he's got at this. Okay, he got pissed at her for cornering him in front of the world, as it were. Okay, because the cameras were there, and no, he's gonna send everything he's got. And like I said, this week so far, I mean, it seems like there's been one article after the other in the local papers and stuff of the federal government doing this, the federal government doing that. Okay, there's a lot going on here in the state concerning this clash between Maine and Washington. So yeah, there's a lot of people are pissed. There's a lot of anger out there boiling on both sides. So it's really, I expect that it's going to really make things in this state pretty unsettling here for the summer, okay, and the state's going to really be under the gun there, as it were, figuratively speaking, of course, but this is going to be something that's going to drag on and on and on, okay? As long as Trump is still in the White House, he ain't going to let up on this. So I don't know, but you know, his State of the Union speech sounded an awful lot like a goddamn promise of a Fourth Reich in this country here. You know what I'm saying? Okay, a lot of people could draw parallels from what he was saying to what Hitler used to say. All right, and I think, you know, a lot of times when he's talking, I think he's reaching right into that Mein Kampf book, and he's just pulling shit out of there to add to whatever the hell he's got to say, probably because he doesn't know what to say, okay? But he knows people like to hear it, so he dusts off that damn old book, and then he starts, you know, putting that shit on paper, you know? Or maybe he's got that memorized, you know? Maybe the guy read that fucking book so much, he's got that in his head, you know? And that's why he can, you know, stand up there and say this shit like it's second nature to him. You know, either way, it's not good. Either way, you know. But I just, you know, I feel bad for, you know, the groups of people that are trans in this state and in the country at large. Because if, you know, if Maine bucks them and another state does it, then he'll be after them too. You know, but you know, it's sad because people. These people felt that they, you know, were getting some kind of recognition a little bit, you know, and there isn't a whole lot of trans people in sports, so it's not an issue, okay? It was never really an issue. Nobody even really knew that there was only 9 or 10 trans people in the sports. You know, nobody knew. But the way they talk about it, it's, you think there were millions of them out there, you know, okay? But the fact is that these people are looking at a problem inside of a plethora of problems that's going on around their heads. And all they're focused on is this gender doesn't belong with this gender. While everything else is on fire around them, Trump's got them focused on that. Okay? That's the most bizarre thing I could think. You know, and even other countries notice that. It's like, oh, Americans are so easily distracted. You know, you could set the house on fire, but if you go out and bring a fucking llama and have them stand out on the street, everyone's going to be like, ooh, look at the llama, while their house is burning to the ground. Okay, it's, you know, we're that easily distracted. You know, and we need to stop that. You know, when somebody sends you out to do a job, okay, you do the job, right? For those of you working. When somebody tells you to do something, you do it. Do you along the way decide, oh, let's go to Dunkin' Donuts and spend half the fucking day there while you got work waiting for you? Because if you do, it's not a wonder you're out of work. Great, you know what I'm saying? So when you focus yourself to do a job, do the same thing with your life and how you look at politics. Focus on what it is you want to see changed, okay? And stay with that, you know? And stop being distracted by other things, because they're doing that to keep you from focusing on the real problems you're having, because they have no answer for you on that. You want higher wages, you're not going to get it if you're thinking about the llama that's standing out on the fucking street. Okay? They don't want you talking about the fucking fact that you're not getting paid enough, because nobody wants to pay you more. The answer is going to be no. If they're distracting you from that, then the answer's already given to you. No, you're not getting it. All right? So people, you need to start thinking differently. When it comes to politics, don't get distracted. Don't let these fucking magicians here hypnotize you into thinking about other bullshit. Nobody's eating your cat and dogs, okay? There's no problem with trans people getting into the sports and playing, you know, the way they want to play, okay? Forget it. Let me tell you something about that. I used to be in karate when I was younger. Do you know that there were more women in karate than there were guys, and the women used to kick the men's ass all over the fucking mat, okay, when we'd have tournaments. I remember that, all right? And when I was in the military. I worked with women in the military, and I'll tell you, they worked twice as hard as the men did when I was in there. They can hold their own against any fucking guy. While the guys are out there working, laughing, and playing shit, the women were in their jobs, proving that they could do their work. Okay? And some of them, it wasn't all secretary work. A lot of these people were doing labor, okay, the women. You know, they were out there doing the same shit that the rest of us were doing. You couldn't tell me that there's a difference in, you know, who can do better than the other. So, you know, it's all, what do they call it? Just gossip and fucking, you know, tropes that people create in life. But you know what? All that stuff, those tropes about women being weaker than men and all that, that's so old now. The words are empty. It doesn't mean anything like that anymore, okay? Women can do just as much. They really can, and sometimes better. They really can. And I'm a person, you know, that I don't care if they, I mean, when we were in school, right, we would have a gym. They would mix the guys with the girls when we would play basketball and stuff. We didn't think there was anything wrong with that then, you know. You know, some of them girls were pretty damn good at that, shooting the fucking ball in the hoop. You know, some of the guys couldn't do a goddamn thing. All right, but you know, when we grew up in school, we did things together, or the sexes did things together. Okay, you know, maybe they should have educated us to say, look, you know, let's break down who's scoring higher than the other, you know. Maybe that would have got the boys to educate them and saying, look, just because they're girls doesn't mean they can't do this. Just because you're guys doesn't mean you can't do that. Okay? I feel like it's ridiculous. It's a stupid trope. And it doesn't hold any water because that comes from old school thinking, like Donald Trump. People that grew up, you know, where everything was separated. Okay? I mean, that's part of the reason why guys grew up, you know, looking at women in a certain way. Instead of looking at them as human beings, they were looked at as objects. Okay? When you separate the sexes like that, what do you think? It becomes a mystery. You know? And so I think that, you know, the way Trump is dealing with this trans issue is based a lot on that, okay? And a lot of people that agree with him are of the same thought. They grew up with people that pounded that kind of shit in their head. It's still out there. But like I said, you know, that kind of talk really doesn't fit in today's world anymore now. We've already proven the point against it. That it doesn't matter if you put women mixed in with men in sports and stuff like that. Both are quite capable of doing the same thing, winning. You know, there's no reason why only women teams can play against each other. You know, fuck that. It's really, there's certain sports out there that doesn't require you got to be all muscle for the first thing, okay? And second, a lot of times, you know, it isn't about muscle at all. It's about know-how. It's about being quick on your feet. It's about being good at what you do, a talent. You know, the standards to playing in teams and stuff is pretty damn high. And if women can get through it, they can meet that bar. Who's to say they shouldn't play, okay? You know, it's not right to deny them that privilege to be able to play. They earned it. They worked for it. They got it. So, I don't know. It's just, it's one of them things, you know, where we're always fighting against discrimination based on prejudices and shit like that. I really wish that people could fight their impulse to just immediately think that something's worse than they are or something, or you know, better than they are, okay? Because that's created so much strife in this country over the generations. You know, it's sad that we can't break away from that. You know, I don't know how many times I talk to people online and we end up, and I but I run across comments that are so racist or bigoted or whatever, you know, and it doesn't do any good to try to tell them where they're wrong, because they believe wholeheartedly in what they say. You know, So it's one of them situations where this kind of thinking will continue to be handed down from the old to the young, and we're always going to be confronted with it. Does that mean we can't get rid of the problem? I don't know. I don't know. It's part of human frailty, I guess. Whether we evolve out of that or not, I don't know. I don't know how we do that, except to try and make ourselves understand why it's important to put those things aside. It's a conscious effort. It has to be a conscious effort on our part to be able to ignore, our instinctual feelings to do what's right. For some of us, we'll just take like an alcoholic. It's a conscious effort for them not to reach for that drink, because they know if they start with one, there'll be another and another and another. Okay? I think we all have to be like that to ignore our worst nature and consciously try. And I think the more you do it, the easier it gets to be able to understand that, I don't have to be that way. Okay? I don't have to be that way. But people, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. You have to be willing to make that change, for one thing. And you have to be able to accept it when you see it in your face, okay? And not be afraid of it, okay? And that's why, I wish more people had that courage and weren't so scared of trying to take those steps to create, in the end, a better society where it's more American than what it is today, where we are the blending pot, where we are welcoming everybody, because that's what we're supposed to be about. But not today, All right, so that's it for today. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. Tomorrow's Friday, so coming up on a weekend. Subscribe, comment, and share. Keep your ears open for any health issues out there. And be a community, help each other, take an interest in how other people are doing. So I will talk to you guys later, so take care. Bye-bye.